I'll put it on the sheet for copy for tomorrow. Okay. Okay. So that in case you want to pick his brain a little bit more, it sounds like Fraser's doing something maybe a little bit similar to to having a truant officer such as
the tribes are getting us one, but we're splitting with another school, and I'm optimistic about the idea of having an SRO, but in the history, they pull them. They end up using them as a police officer.
Yeah.
We do have a relation with the courts to where we report to them.
So that's nice. So each jurisdiction may be able to find different things. One of our schools has had experience having an SRO, having them pulled back into regular duty, and others have had a less than satisfactory experience with the court as they have brought cases forward that, as you know, is kind of difficult sometimes if we have a parent who is allowing his or her children to not participate in school even though we have requirements and expectations about that. And so, but it's a new day. And I think the example we have here with the tribal court and the court tribal court has been working well, although for a short time in Dale Cutty. So however we can help in that process, yes.
What about state court where it's
Complicated, but not impossible. So let us put together those resources for you with some of the things that Officer Rivas and I have discussed.
We contacted law enforcement, they all the way down, we contacted all the state officials, we contacted
Nobody, nothing.
well, they came down and did check.
But yeah, you're in his direction on it, well, I don't know where we're going to go.
It's very unclear how we get cross jurisdictions. We just had an example of that with the Crow Tribal Court in a child custody welfare situation. It's yet to be unfolded to see whether or not what happened is going to stick. But we need to find ways to work together. And I think that where we have common issues around children, we should be able to find them. So we'll continue to have that dialogue, and I'll make sure you have contact. So when I asked, how do you pronounce his first name? Alicia. So when I asked Alicia after, would you be a resource for trustees or for leaders to, pick the phone and say, what did you do in this situation, or what did you do first, what did you do second, to try and get the ball rolling? And he's more than willing to help and respond to questions and what have you, which is terrific. And he actually came back to his home and went to folks to find out why this wasn't currently happening. So he really initiated from the ground up what's currently happening, which is great. So I just want to reiterate just a couple of quick announcements because I know some of you arrived late with traveling and what have you. Cindy has put together a flyer that should be in your packets. All of the staff development professional training that we've been doing with trustees and with leaders is on a YouTube channel. And so if you're so inclined, you can always go back and take a look at some of the topics that leaders have been addressing, some of the resources that we've been there to try and facilitate and provide support for. So this YouTube channel will be really helpful, I think, especially for those trustees or other individuals in your district who aren't able to attend with us. They can still go ahead and go back and look at it, and hopefully some of the taping will be of value to you to go back and refresh. So as Stevie said, this is David, our work study student at Rocky. He's an amazing kid. He's going to have a slew of master's degrees. He helps us every Tuesday night in our master's program. So he's going to be an educational leader someday. However, he's in aviation, so I'm not quite sure how that's going to work. The next thing that I want to mention is, again on the square, this is again for those of you that haven't arrived just a little bit late. At the very bottom of the agenda is our goal statement, basically. Why do we exist as a Rising Stars grant? What are we trying to accomplish to assist you as trustees in your work and leaders in your work? And that is to support, to recruit, train, and support you in your schools and in your work. And hopefully we can facilitate a lot of that conversation. So this last piece that we have, you have a PowerPoint in your packet, and you see the slides up above as well. We had some excellent ideas shared with us in our first session with Kristen Lundgren and with Amity about, well, now what do we do? You know, what if we do some early identification, what next? What happens next? And we talked about some of these resources, and so we're going to spend this last little bit of time that we have together taking a look at some of those tools and some of those resources. And then hopefully we can open it up and provide an opportunity for you to do some sharing. I was just asking Curtis at the break, when Alicia came to the school, how did the kids respond to that? And so maybe you could share with us, you know, what was their reaction, and was it, you know, kind of a yawn thing, or did they really get something out of it? And if so, what did they get out of it, and so on. So maybe somebody can share. The other thing, I apologize to my Hayes crew that I have the great opportunity to work with. I inserted a tool in your packet that I didn't ask them permission to do. I just am going to beg for forgiveness. And so hopefully they can talk a little bit about what they're doing in the world of concrete evidence. How are they really looking at the data, the information that says we got a problem here? Instead of just thinking we do, they're doing a terrific job of trying to look at the resources that they have and the data that they have, putting it together to say if this is really what's happening in Hayes School right now based on evidence that we have. So, and I know that Bill wants to share a little bit about some of the things that they're doing, and later as well. So we'll kind of leave that sharing time toward the end. So the very first slide that we have here is obviously every student every day, that's our hope. And our focus, of course, these topics get generated, as I said, by you as leaders. And so hopefully we have a little bit of better understanding ourselves about terminology, perhaps, and some of the resources that are available. I did not know that there was a definition for chronic absenteeism. In all my years in education, I would have said, well, chronic absenteeism means chronic. That's pretty profound. So this is the definition of chronic absenteeism. It actually does have a definition. And this is what many of the entities across the country use as a consistent reference. So when you talk about chronic absenteeism, a student is actually considered to be chronically absent if he or she misses as few as 2 days of school a month. Now, I would venture to guess, I don't know how many of you didn't know there was a definition of chronic absenteeism, but I would venture to guess there would be very few of our parents that would understand that, or could be able to define that. But to me, when I hear the word chronic, it kind of elevates that level of importance in my mind. So I think this is important for us to keep this in mind. And is it something that we can consistently refer to in our work that says we really want to change this thinking? You know, a student might just think, well, I've only missed a couple days this month. Well, over time, that becomes a significant issue. There's a resource available to us as educators, something that President Obama started in last spring, March 5th of 2015. It's called My Brother's Keeper, and it's a national resource. It's something that schools can partner and participate in. It's intended to really look at you know, all ethnicities, all groups of kids across the country. But it was originally initiated to look at kids in poverty, or kids that are living in less than exemplary demographic settings, perhaps, or having, you know, significant challenges that they're faced. There is, and I'm not going to go to this just because of time, I'd rather spend it doing some sharing, but this is in your PowerPoint. There's a young man in here by the name of Dakota Brown, who's, I believe he is Navajo, and it talks about what he has done in his particular school district. There's a great reference to him and what he has done in his district as a part of his school district joining forces with My Brother's Keeper initiative, which again is a national initiative. It's not something that that is, I mean, it's not just a state initiative, it's something that is national. The other one that I have here, I've already shown it to you. This is that YouTube link that I started with, where, you know, what is this issue and how complicated is it? When the kids that were interviewed in that 1 minute clip really talked about the need for connections and relationships. When I was principal doing in one of the schools that I served, which was the high needs school or SES school. I had a little boy that would arrive at 7 o'clock every morning to see Virginia for breakfast. And that's why he came to school, because he loved Virginia, and oftentimes Virginia would let him help serve or fix the fruit or do whatever. That's what got Vernon to school. So whoever that is, whether it's you, a teacher, the custodian, the crossing guard, or the bus driver, or whoever it is, you know, we simplify it by talking about those relationships, but it's a piece of the puzzle. It's extremely important. This next finding here, this is on your slide if you're following along with me. A study of public school students in Utah found that a student is chronically absent in any year between the 8th and 12th grade is over 7 times more likely. Now, the reason I've infused some of these facts is when we talk about this need to share information or to help us to figure out how can we get interested parties at the table to talk with us. When Krista was talking about the crisis and we need to do this now, and it's important that we really tackle this issue, we can back up this information by saying, here's why we need to do this. We don't have another month, we don't have another year, because we might have a senior or a sophomore or a freshman or whomever that we need to start focusing on.
Hey, Joe, too, one of the things that she said that I thought was important too is whatever your policy says is what you have to implement. So if your policy isn't right, and if you're not addressing, especially K through 8, because we had this conversation when I was the superintendent last year in Stanford. What are we doing with those younger kids? Because you know what? When they get to high school, some of my kids were missing more than 2 years of school. How can those kids then stay on par to be the leaders of tomorrow? So I think that's one of the key things that I took from that more than anything else is we need to start addressing those kids, especially on the reservation, because they've missed a ton of school. A ton of school.
Absolutely.
So anyways.
And to support what you just said, Nancy, is the idea that Kristen was sharing with us is just the early intervention and the early acknowledgement. In my school, one of my schools that I was principaling in, and it was a K-6 school, I could have told you by 3rd grade the likelihood of an individual. And I think as educators, we see that. Sometimes it's like stopping a train, but if we can see that in 3rd grade, then what do we need to be doing about that? I don't know if you picked up on this or not, but the Billings Initiative is really focused on 2 things. One is they've got a huge initiative going right now to make 3rd grade that pivotal year, which we all know, to have them on reading level by 3rd grade. So even though we're talking about attendance here and chronic absenteeism, if a kid is not able to read and is then disenfranchised from 3rd grade on, because we know that link between 3rd and 4th grade is so significant, then we up the ante. We've got a bigger challenge after that 3rd grade year. So extensive effort then is being put in reading interventions K1, 2, and 3. And I know many of you or your schools are doing that and continue to do that and have done that for a long time. But it's not just, okay, we're going to deal with attendance over here. You've got to have it as a combined effort.
So in the schools, K through 3 is when we teach them to read. 4 through 12 is when they read to learn. So I mean, you have to make that leap at 3rd grade, and that's the pivotal point. That's why they say that. So I think that's a key ingredient for everybody. And attendance is the issue, because if they're not in school, you can't teach them.
The second bullet, though, to me was something that was a huge takeaway for me, because as a leader, I would often focus on the kids who weren't there and what are we doing and how much contact am I making with parents or agencies or what have you. But the second bullet here is something I really haven't focused on and spent a lot of time. So we focus on these truant chronic absentee kids, but really look at the effect they're having on the classroom for the whole class. It's not our kid maybe acting out behaviorally, but by chronic absenteeism, that's impacting the entire classroom environment. So we have to look at that and speak to our kids that are there every day. We can just have as much of a harmful effect or divisive effect on those kids who are attending every day just because of all the ins and outs from maybe a small percentage of our students. So to me, that was a significant thought. Okay, these are the 4 principles that Kristen mentioned this morning. Much of the research, or I shouldn't say much of the research, much of the information that we've kind of poured over, one in preparation for today, but then to try and see what resources are available to assist you. These 4 action steps are repetitive throughout many of the key institutes, Johns Hopkins University, the Attendance Works, the Department of Education. These are the principles that they are working from. Now, the first one, and that's why, again, I just want to recognize Hayes Lodgepole and their work. I happen to have an opportunity to attend one of their recent data team meetings, and they're lucky enough to have a dean who works specifically on attendance issues and discipline issues and the like. And one of the things that they were talking about and sharing at their meeting is their most recent data report. And that's in your packet. It says up there, Sandra Glover in the top right-hand corner, and it says Hayes Lodgepole. I want to just take a minute and grab that. And Rena or Connie, do you want to make a comment about this or how you're using this and what you're doing with this? Because it's a huge first step. It's a huge first step. I hate to put you on the spot, but if you don't want to say anything, that's fine too. Okay?
Yeah, basically how we're using the data is our dean who handles all of behavior, attendance, and collaborates closely with our truancy officer. This data is used across the board for our NBI and presented to students weekly and daily in relationship to how well they're doing, how well they're progressing for grade level and individually. We have an incentive program built into this. There's an incentive program to help reach, because we see drastic improvements from last year to this year in relationship to attendance. And so our dean has been really good about incorporating a lot of incentives to help us achieve better attendance. We have a long ways to go to be where we want to be attendance-wise, but from last year to this year, there's a stark contrast.
So I guess the key thing that I would like to add to the conversation, and I've only been in Hayes, this is my second year working with his team, but I didn't see this product come forward last year. And so the fact that this team felt the need and that this was something that they needed to really rely on, it was prioritized and somebody was given the charge to do that, in this case, Kathleen the dean. So my point is this. Of the 4 principles, we have to look at how those look for us in our school districts. You might say, well, we have the data. Well, yes, you might have the data, but where is the data? And who has access to the data? And how is the data being used? So, these 4 guiding action steps, again, we can't simplify this notion of chronic absenteeism, but we can try and chunk it away. Like Connie just said, we've got a long ways to go, but boy, this is sure helping us in our conversation to start. And so the other thing, and correct me if I'm wrong, your board gets this, correct? On a monthly basis? So talk a little bit about that. How's that received?
Well, it's being received really well. I think this is probably the first time that has happened where they're actually getting data on behavior, attendance, and academic data in relationship to how our students are doing overall. They love it. We had a board meeting last night, and the figures and the percentages are there to show where our students are according to the tiers in all of those 3 areas. So tier 1, 2, and 3 strategic, intensive, and benchmark. And it's been a real important piece on educating our board on where our students are and where we need to go.
Right. So, I guess the thing about for me is well, some of you might be saying, well, we can generate it, but I don't have the time as a school leader. The board obviously is not going to generate this. So, we have to problem solve and figure out if it's a priority, how are we going to get this accomplished? How are we going to get this met? Because we can't just operate on assumption. We have to have hard, fast evidence. In fact, John presented a great presentation for us at one of our earlier meetings this fall on data and just how we're using data. This is a perfect example again of maybe a less complex system, but you've got to collect what you believe you need to collect, and it's going to help you to make those all-important decisions. So, any thoughts, comments about this example of number 1? Okay, we're going to go on to this create, deploy positive messages and measures. I'm going to show you a couple of things. The last slide, or second to the last, I guess, these are the key resources that I know that the Billings Graduation Matters team uses them, and I know many of you are Graduation Matters schools that you get a lot of your resources as well out of OPI, so you'll see some duplication here. But I'm going to use Hays again because that's one that's very familiar to me. An example of this whole messaging idea. How do we deal with that? How do we handle that? So you'll see the web link there is Attendance Works. Kristen mentioned it. I know we've talked about it at our leader meetings, and I know some of you have been exploring that. The John Hopkins work, it's called Everyone Graduates. The America's Promise one is called Grad Nation. I don't have that website up there, but that's another link. And then the last one here is the Campaign for Grade Level Reading. So if we talk about the importance of the achievement side coming in support of what we're trying to do with our attendance and our getting our kids to school, you'll see that it's a dual effort again. This is just really focused on the campaign of how do we get our kids to the 3rd grade reading level. So, questions about any of those resources? Comments? Anybody had a chance to look at those? No? Not enough time, right? We have to do that between 2 and 4 in the morning. Okay, so as I said, we're going to do a little bit of brainstorming and a little sharing here. But this is an example of some of the tools and resources that are out there. Now, I don't know if you're like me, but when I was leading a school, because my time was not my own about 99% of the time, I didn't have time to be really creative and come up with these incentive systems or these great ideas or what have you. And I think the thing that I like the most about some of these resources is they do the work for us. Instead of me having to come up with some incentive plan or some incentive idea, which Hays has done a great job with that, I'm more apt to try and gravitate toward a resource that I can just steal it and help me do this. Okay, so this is an example. Create an attendance month competition between classes, grades, or local schools. The rewards can be simple as an extra resource or fancy as a wrap for a new car. I don't think we've done that. Businesses can donate gift certificates or movie tickets and so on. I mean, the sky is the limit with that. And since Stevie and I are at Rocky, then they do this quite a bit. We're trying to set up a tour for the Hays kids on Friday to go visit the campus. But if you had some kind of an incentive system of some sort where we could get kids to a Rocky basketball game or a football game or what have you, I mean, we're using our resources. It's not just within your district perhaps, but maybe there's some outreach there that we can do this. So I want to share with you just one other example here of how these resources might look. So what I've done is, this is actually the Attendance Works website. Now, it's monstrous. I mean, there's everything in here from soup to nuts. But here's the example I want to share with you. In this particular link, I'm just going to the parents link. Whoops. Maybe we can grab the lights back there.
We're shutting the lobby down.
Thank you. Okay, so you have in your packet, the very last page on the right-hand side of your packet, you have a script, which, again, I love this because I can steal this. I can do this at a PTA meeting if you have that, or a booster meeting, or I was able to see a fabulous Veterans Day celebration at Hays last month, where we could slip in any number of things. So this is a script of of a parent session, just a brief parent session where we could talk about attendance and the importance of attendance and getting your kids to school. So let me just share with you this as an example. This is just a quick 5-minute video. I'll give you an example. Can you hear that?
His or the age. It's really important for him to get used to going to school every day.
Attendance is important. Not only having one sentence. You miss school, you miss out.
As long as you go to school, you be that foundation. Then later on, you can choose whatever you want.
School is very important. Not just for your education, but for your social life. Yes, student absenteeism is international.
Nationwide, 1 out of 10 students are chronically absent, meaning they miss 18 days or more over the course of an entire school year.
I learned the importance of attendance when my son was in 2nd grade. I didn't know that by him missing 1 or 2 days out of the month, he was actually being chronically absent. He was not reading at a grade level. His writing wasn't as great. So when I went to do a meeting with the teacher, and I asked her, what's the reading level of my son, what's his writing level, and she told me that he was behind.
It's normal for students to miss a few days of school. Kids do get sick, especially when they're younger. But if absences continually add up, even if it's only just 2 or 3 days each month, by the end of the school year, students can have missed so much instruction that they experience difficulty learning to read, mastering important math concepts, passing courses, and ultimately graduating from high school.
Many times when we talk to the families, they're just not aware of the importance of being in school every single day. They feel that, missing a school day here or there, it's okay because of family issues and other commitments they have. But what we see over and over again is when parents get that information and someone actually communicates to them and helps them understand the consequences, they'll be the first champions to ensure that that child is in school.
If the parent tells me it's one day here, one day there, I let them know that becomes a habit. One day here, one day there becomes 2 days here, 3 days there, and potentially a dropout, by the time you get to high school.
Good attendance starts with families making it a priority, even when it isn't always easy. It makes a difference when families set a regular bedtime and morning routine to make sure children get enough sleep and wake up ready for school. Make medical appointments when school is not in session. Avoid taking vacations when school is in session. Send children to school every day unless they're truly sick. Finally, develop backup plans for getting children to school if something comes up.
So now my son, I want to tell you that he's in 8th grade. So the years have passed. Now I have 2 other children that are in school. One was in 5th grade and the other one in 2nd grade. 3rd grade actually. My dad is in 3rd grade. And attendance has become something that in our household we really make it very important.
Families can also turn to each other for help, setting up carpools or joint child care arrangements to make their lives a little easier. As a parent myself, I know how much I value being able to turn to friends and family for help.
I think parents can help each other in a lot of ways, and I think that part of that is the school figuring out exactly what the issue is and why their child's not coming, and then creating a connection for parents to say, oh, you live in the same area, maybe you can contact this parent, or let me put you in touch with this parent to see if you can pick up, a child, or if they can help take your child home in the afternoon, whatever the issue is.
Sometimes, though, families face bigger challenges to getting to school, such as a lack of reliable transportation or stable housing. Chronic illness can also complicate attendance.
Last year, John, the asthma was really bad, and he missed almost a week each month out of school for, I'd say, 6 months.
When more serious challenges arise, Families can work with their schools to make sure their children get what they need. In Baltimore, for instance, John's asthma-related absences subsided when his school opened a full-service health clinic.
If your school doesn't have a school nurse and your child has a chronic condition, you could advocate for your child as well as the other children in the school. I would suggest that you have a conversation with the principal and asking the principal what the protocols are if your child, should have an asthma attack during school time.
If there are things that are problems that prevent them from coming to school that we cannot help if they don't let us know, just letting the parents know that it's okay, that the times are hard and obviously situations arise, and we will do what we can as a school to try and support.
Parents can make a real difference in solving the problem of too many absences. We need to work together in our homes, in our schools, in our communities. When we help our children,
we ensure. So parents, get your kids to school. They have to come every day. It's so fun, and the teachers love them. And
okay, we're gonna stop it. You get the gist. My point is this:
track what they're here every day. So I feel that would be my
is the resources that are available on this particular tool are all done for us. So let me just take it one step further. So I know so did I just turn them off in the lobby again? Here we go. I know the school, the last school that I served, as I said, was the Lower SES school, and oftentimes it was really difficult to get parents into the school because either their own school experience was negative or whatever the reason. It was really hard. But again, I'm going to use Hayes. Hayes was able to purchase some fabulous TV sets that they've centrally located within their commons area and in their library. A video like this could just run. I mean, that could be something that's running. You've already thought that. Well, you got it all planned. Okay, good. So it doesn't necessarily, as we think differently, it doesn't have to be a meeting, but it could be an opportunity. Let's say the homeschool coordinator needed to really work with a particular parent. There are resources here that might be at your fingertips to help assist in those difficult conversations. Okay, the other thing that I really liked about this particular link is, let's see if I can pull this up. So we heard about the messaging from the United Way folks. One of the reasons why we thought this was great, that all the leaders were interested in trying to have more conversation about this issue of chronic absenteeism, is that we're in a perfect time of this school year where, maybe this is a think about to really do something second semester. Maybe you want to rejuvenate and rethink, what's happening in the world. You've got first semester attendance data. You can rely on that. You can share that information and say, okay, now we're either going to look at class by class or school-wide, or in some way we're going to renew this conversation about the importance of being here. So this particular website has these handouts that either can be put into a newsletter. You saw a couple of them that the officer made. Those are done for you. So if you and a team of your staff work together, whether it's your MBI team or whatever, say, you know what, we are going to put a full-on blitz second semester. The board's going to be looking at our truancy policies. We're going to see if we can get our ducks in a row here and tackle this as a team. But here's what we're going to do on the front lines as it relates to actual application in the school. So I guess the point I want to make with this is the resources are there if you see the need as it applies to your school. I mean, obviously there are things in here that you can say, oh, well, we would never use that. It doesn't fit our population. It doesn't fit with our conversation and the like. Okay? So that's the attendance works one. And I don't want to spend any more time looking at resources because you can do this at your leisure, and you have a team of individuals that are looking at this. I put in the example of the script. If you had an opportunity to hold a parent meeting of some sort, maybe at the beginning of the session, I happened to attend the fall open house that Kristen mentioned earlier in the presentation at Newman Elementary School. And they had a humongous assembly kickoff in the fall of the year. They had the gym decorated, they had hay bales in there, they had music, the kids were dancing. It was a huge celebration. And Travis, the principal's message was, we're here to celebrate school. You know, and we need you here in every way and every day. And they just did an amazing job with that back to school celebration, that back to school assembly. So it was really exciting to see. So some think abouts maybe perhaps as it fits into your work and what you might be trying to do second semester.
Good idea about incentives.
Yeah, that's the next thing in your packet. I think it's also on the right-hand side. This also just comes, I just lifted it right off of Attendance Works. Because oftentimes we talk about incentives. You know, certainly we want to engage the kids in the conversation. I think Donnie will talk more about that tomorrow. But we want to think about how do we incentivize kids? You know, if they're not intrinsically motivated, what do we get to do? What do we do to get them a little bit more intrigued? Now, obviously, the other complex issue that we talked about earlier is the engagement in the classroom. That's a whole other conversation. If you've got engagement in the classroom, half the battle is won. If you don't, then you still have an uphill challenge, obviously. So the last handout in the right-hand side of your packet is just a list of some incentive ideas, what you can do collectively as a district, as a school, as a grade level, that maybe your MBI team again, or your staff, however you would choose to have a conversation, might explore and think a little bit more about. We're not going to spend any time talking about this, but one thing about that the grant team talked about at one of our sessions is this whole idea of some type of friendly attendance competition between our Rising Star schools. We don't know if that's a good idea, a bad idea. We don't know how that would look, but it might be something that we explore down the road if you think that has any merit. You have some ideas that you think that would prompt that to work. That's also a big thing about it. So with that, Jill, I'm going to let you share your thoughts there, your ideas.
Thank you. I'm not going to pass these out right away to everybody, but these are school newspapers, and it just prompts me to say something. And I think if I'm counting right, I have about 2 per school that you would sort of share in that, because so many of the things that we're talking about, we've been involved in for quite a while. I know that some of you guys are in new SIG school programs, and I would like to at least start off there by saying everybody who's done anything to help the students adds up. I know every program would like to say, gee, we're responsible for everything positive that's happening. And I think it's probably closer to the truth. And by the way, thank you for naming this the Rising Stars program after the Morning Stars.
That's why we did that, Bill.
Well, thank you. And of course, we're not competitive at all. You know, we play Hayes, tomorrow, right? Is it tomorrow?
Friday.
Or second, is it first round or second round? Well, by God, we'll find out who the better school is. You know, it goes way beyond athletics and that for our students. But I want to start off by saying all the trainings like this really help. I want to start off by saying we have had more board members come to training in the last year, and it's not magical. You will see, when you read our newspaper, you'll see so many of the positive things happening. The Board of Trustees is now working really hard. They're backing up the school, the students, the teachers, the administration, and it's fun. Yes, we may still have one old curmudgeon that goes against everything, but but overall, the board's really working hard, so they deserve the credit. SIG, if you could share that with some folks, because SIG has a real controversy, and are they helping our students? There's a lot of money involved.
There's no controversy, we are.
You know, and so we're starting to see, we're starting to see benefits. And so I, for one, am saying thanks to everybody, and it's not maybe going to happen all at once. We recently had the governor attend our school and recognize our students, and you'll see that in our fall math testing program. We experienced 84%, and you're not going to believe this number because I didn't believe this number. 84% of our students in this fall's testing got their best ever performance in one or more of the tests. And so it's astounding, and it's everybody. It's teachers, it's administrators, it's board, it's Rising Stars, it's SIG, but most of all, the students are really hearing the message. Because we're Native, doesn't mean we have to be at the bottom. Now, that's not $1 that we give them. There's starting to be some pride. I'm old-fashioned. I believe that some of that has to come from your heart and your spirit. And if you really look at all Native philosophies around Montana, at least that I'm aware of, they're wonderful, beautiful philosophies. And there's not a single tribal leader that I know of in the last 300 years that has said nothing less than education is extremely important. You just heard a guy say, in fact, I'll bet you all of our ordinances really support education. But we've gotten away from that. Well, here I am saying I'm old-fashioned, it comes from the heart. What did we do to get a motivator on the scoring and the testing? We paid, well, they haven't got the check yet. But here's the history of that. I think, Steve, I think a little bit more about this than when I talked to you about this. I think a couple of years ago, our counselor, and you might know something about this, said to some kids, if you score your best ever, I don't know what she said, I'll give you $5. Well, I don't know, she even paid out $30. So it was no big deal. Well, here's the evolution. This year in the hall, the best I can piece it together, one of our staff members, a special ed teacher, said, and there's a bunch of students around, do you want to talk about how social media works? It works. You can have no cell phones. I guarantee the news travels really fast. So the special ed teacher says, I'll give you $10 to get your best ever score. And of course there's 4, I think, isn't there 4 maths testing? 177 requisitions they just turned into my central office. How happy are we about that? But we're happy about the fact that it's unbelievable, and they didn't cheat. I want to tell you that, everybody. They went into rooms, they were separated, they did the work. The ability with the students is there. I'm old-fashioned, I don't think we should pay students. But I got to tell you, it worked. So it's like all of whoever just said, if there's something that's working, you might want to try to continue to do that. So I just really wanted to share that with everybody. You'll see in our newspaper that we've got a lot more honor roll kids, a lot more great attendance, and those kinds of things. But it's all intentional too. We're trying to make school a little bit nicer place to come to. I mean, we hope that on Saturday we're going to have some sort of a pep band. It's going to be non-traditional, sort of. A couple guitars and who knows exactly what. But the kids are working hard. We're going to have cheerleaders that, really honestly, they're working hard. Okay? So more kids want to come to school, the better off we are. We're working on changing our pizza company. How many of you guys have the same pizza company that's the worst pizza in the world? I know, that's another subject. But I just wanted to share, thanks for everybody for helping every part that you can have help. Everybody that's worked for us is all part of that whole thing. He mentioned the bullying. You guys, we're at the point where cyberbullying, I think we may have to consider not allowing some of our parents in our building. I hate to even say that, but you should see some of the worst trash I've ever seen against our young people on Facebook. I see some nods out there. Some of you guys maybe know what I'm talking about. We can't allow that. And you know what? More and more, it's against the law. So, I hope we can make progress on that and use social media as a real positive thing. Anyway, I'll end up there, and thanks for allowing us to take a little bit of time. But please pick up some of this. You'll see some of the things we're trying to do. And this is even one of the reasons why kids want to come. I mean, they work hard. It's kind of a neat deal. Okay? I mean, we've got kids that won't speak. You know, we've got kids that won't speak 5 words to you in our school. But you give them a camera and they go everywhere. They still don't talk, but the pictures talk for them. So it's a way of letting them get something out. So, and it's our staff, it's our families. More and more of our families are really working hard to get the kids to come to school. We had a mom who missed the bus. She walked her elementary student 3 miles to school. Sometimes we look at all the negative statistics, and I ask people, and we've done this a little bit, take tours of the school only looking for positive. We don't write down anything negative, nothing. We look for just the positive, and I'd ask everybody else to do that because the kids deserve that, especially those that are there working hard and doing well. So that's my passion. Thanks for the time.
Thank you. So, Bill, 75% of what you just said, good. You can attribute some credit to 6, so there's no controversy.
Right, and
I'll debate that all day long.
I actually started that by saying thank you because there's a lot of things. I don't think money solves everything, but I do know that we tried out some things that worked really well, and we need to continue some of that. And so that's a good thing. So thank you.
And I have to echo what you're saying and put things on your board as well. We have, through 4 or 5 years with SIG and now with our grant, the training your board has showed up, and that's evidence in your combined work. So thank you to all.
Yeah.
So just quickly, is Curtis still here? No. He scoot out. I was just curious to see the reaction from his students with the officer. But and then the last question I have is, hey, want to share anything about the incentives that you guys are putting into place? Because you've got some great things going. Or you can pass.
We really have
Or
a
you can
lot
pass.
of stuff and thought going on from the beginning of the year. One of our big things that we did was with societies. We started our societies. We researched our Ani and Nakota instructors. They researched our some regional societies, and we kind of reenacted them and put our students like the tertiary groups into societies and gave them jobs to do with teachers, recognize them at a powwow that we had, inducted them to each society, and if they move up each quarter, they can be inducted into the society. That was one thing that we did that was really good, and we
Kids
have
responded to that? Students responded?
They liked that. They enjoyed it. After their testing, that report that we have here, that was the behavior and attendance, but we have behavior attendance, their GPA, and their reading and math score tests too. And we have them on charts, and they come and look to see where they're at, and then they want to know how they can get to where they're supposed to be.
We have behavioral incentive trips that we built in per quarter, and then as well as academic achievement incentives that we build in.
Aren't some of your students in Billings for an incentive? Is that what's going on right now?
Yes.
Basketball as well?
They will be tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
I mean, the truancy officer and the superintendent, and they'll meet us down here and go out to eat, and they get to go to a movie, and everybody is excited to be to go, and then the others want to know how and what are you going to do for the next testing.
Now, what do I need to do to?
And how many of people who made the combination of things will be coming? 12. 10? 12?
Well, actually 10. We had 12, but 2 are in our phone, so they have to. Oh, that's great. Yeah.
We have to do all of the requirements, not just one area.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, attendance, behavior, and academic.
What grade level?
9 through 12.
Yeah. Dean Glover was explaining to me all the last minute checking and, making sure that everybody was qualified to get electronic figure.
I don't think we have that incentive plan written down somewhere, but I'd love to get a copy, and if we could share it with the rest of the group, that would be fabulous. Go ahead, I'm sorry, you're right.
Dean Glover's doing dinner with the dean on the 18th. She's cooking because she's Southern. She's a Southern, and she's cooking up her traditional foods for them, and they're all pretty excited for the attendance, having good attendance. That will be last week, our last day before the break. We have the Dean's Pantry that we started doing it last year with MBI, and she was, but it's like no one really wanted to do it because it's to be consistent and to do it right, somebody has to really take it on, and she took charge of that, and the students can use their dollars. They get $1 for being on time. At 8 o'clock in the morning we do it's like our cultural time every morning, and we start the day off with the first 10 minutes of the day with prayer. Everybody takes turns, like all of the adults went first, and then the students, and then if don't do, then another adult will volunteer, but we pray, and then we do the pledge in Ani and Nakota, and then the American, the flag, and then they sing the flag song, and we do any kind of MBI announcements, like vocabulary prompts, and then the dean gives a rundown of behavior, attendance, all her staff, and then they go to class, but it's really a calming way to we smudge the whole area, and all the students get to smudge if they want, because we walk around with that, and they go to class, and it's really calming. And at that time, she gives $1 for all the students that were there, and so then they collect them off them in their time, and they clean them. And they're just simple stuff, school supplies, just things that kids like.
Yeah, that's how it goes into our NBI.
Yeah.
We're moving.
Yes, it feels like a natural fit, to work with that. Is really focused on some of those initiatives. Anybody else have any final comments for the good of the order? Questions?
I have one comment. I passed out your expense reports. So please get these filled out to me either end of day today. I'll fill out the amounts on them. You don't have to do that. Just make sure you fill out the top part so I can get that collected and get that out to ASAP.
The other thing I'd like to say is Stevie and I are doing some board training things. So if your board has not notified her that you want to training, because we do retreats and we get the administration and the boards together and have good conversations with them. I think it's very, very good training. Everybody has enjoyed it. So if you haven't done that, make sure you get a hold of Stevie and get a date set up so we can do that, because they're great.
And so if you did not get the reimbursement form from me, if I missed you as I prepared them earlier, make sure you see me before you leave. I'll get one ready for you.
Yeah, we put it to
Okay. Yeah, questions, comments?
if we model that for the early senior class, we have a student has missed no more than 2 periods in any class. They get, after 6 weeks, we get that semester way off. And what we do is they aren't responsible for any work that's occurs on that right. And so the first time we did it, we had about 9 kids. Last time, pretty good.
So, you know, I guess to me, again, that's a great example, but I think if we could have somebody write a quick way to do this, and then we can distribute it and share those ideas, like Raina, the ones that you shared, and the Dr. Dean, and if somebody could kind of put those together, we'll duplicate them, we'll send them out to all of you, I think that would be great. So, because if it's working for you, Steve might want to try it at his place.
Yeah, so coaches, if you collect from your schools those ideas and give them to me, then I'll send them out to everybody.
Okay. So tomorrow morning we start at 8 o'clock in this room. 8 o'clock.
And there's breakfast here.
Breakfast here at the hotel, which people reported to me was very good, so.
We appreciate you coming today. Thanks for your attention and your comments. See you in the morning.
You should just